out my name. Ayo, ayo. Oh, would it take me and embrace me as your own? Would it take me and embrace me as your own? Stay ahead of the curve and get updates on the latest trends in politics, government, policies, education, economy, social development, amongst others.
We're happy to announce today that both the federal government and the organized labor have agreed on an increase on the 62,000 naira minimum wage.
Join
Ayodeji Ajishope
and
Adedamola Lafenwa
on from the dailies every weekday from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. on Solutions 93.9 FM as they dive into the headlines with in-depth analysis and feedback from you on different stories from the national dailies. Start your day by gaining fresh perspectives, uncovering the story behind the story, and join the conversation. Because your voice matters. From the dailies, the conversation never stops.
All right, it's another beautiful Monday morning in a big and beautiful city of Ibadan. My name is Adedamola Lafenwa, with so much excitement coming from the weekend and starting a brand new week, opening a fresh page. Say welcome and good morning, and I welcome you to From the Dailies on Solutions 93.9 FM, where we get to take you through the front pages of our newspapers this morning. And of course, I have Comrade Ayodeji Ajishope live in the studio with me this beautiful Monday morning. A beautiful morning to you, Comrade Ayodeji Ajishope.
Yes, I think it's a beautiful Monday morning. We are coming to the end of the in fact, a week from now, we'll be ending the very first quarter in year 2025. So don't say you didn't know.
I mean, looking at the day today is 24th day in the month of March. I mean, March seems to be so fast too.
Oh.
This year has been moving on a roller coaster.
So people should not say, the days are 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
First quarter are gone.
All right. Let's go to the papers this morning. I have about 5 newspapers with me in the studio. I have The Guardian, the Nigerian Tribune, the Vanguard newspaper, The Punch, and the Nation newspaper. And definitely, as expected, the state of emergency being declared on Rivers State last week is still taking center stage in virtually all the papers we have this morning. Taking the account of the Vanguard newspaper this beautiful Monday morning, the biggest story says another explosion rocks gas facility in Rivers. And under that caption, we have quite a number of riders under it. Let me take them one after the other. Tension as Niger Delta militants reconvene. 5 days after suspension, Fubara appears in Port Harcourt. PDP BOT rejects demands Reject demands reversal of Rivers emergency rule. Support group blames Tinubu's decision on misinformation. Serap sues Tinubu over suspension. Emergency rule in Rivers State sets dangerous precedent. And NPP chieftain and the last rider says, imagine Rivers without state of emergency. Bayo Onanuga. And there is a picture of the suspended governor of Rivers State, that is Siminalaye Fubara, attending a church service at Salvation Ministries GRA Port Harcourt yesterday, and the picture of Fubara is seen on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Moving away from that, our state is evolving, not smelling. Lagos State government. I remember that youth corps, the youth corps member in Lagos State that had a viral video sometime last week. After calling the president a terrible president, and went ahead and said Lagos State is smelling. The Lagos State government has come out to debunk statement saying that our state is evolving, not smelling.
Well, I think semantics. Yes, semantics. While you are evolving from one state to another, Abi. So isn't that even looking like a near validation of what
the lady said?
If you are evolving, that means you are moving from one location to another. Which location are you moving from?
That means evolving doesn't mean development or improving.
It's improving.
Okay.
Of course, if you are improving, where were you? Where are you trying to move to? And where are you located now?
Okay, I get your point.
So where are they coming from?
I get your point now.
I don't want to use the words that were deployed by.
Okay,
if you have ever lived in Lagos,
I have.
different parts of Lagos, Surulere has a peculiar. And when I say smell now, I don't mean it in an offensive manner.
I lived in Surulere. Let me just come out straight. I lived in Surulere, Aguda Surulere to be
very
precise.
good.
And
That's
you know,
where I live too.
there is one. When we talk about Surulere, it has one problem: drainage problem.
You hit it.
Drainage.
That does not flow.
You will see, but every road, no matter how beautiful your house is, the drainage
Does
system
not flow.
there does not flow. You
Yeah.
see mosquitoes, and it's dark. The water inside is dark
So.
and smelly too.
Well.
Probably that was what the lady was referring
And
to.
then, if you're on the third mainland bridge, it has a particular portion of that road has its own peculiar smell that really amuses me. You know? So if you are very familiar with Lagos, you know different parts of Lagos, and I don't mean pungent, offensive smell. No, I won't say that about
So
Lagos.
maybe probably the call member was right too by saying Lagos is smelling everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a particular area around Ojota too. That place is always flooded. God saves them this time when the rain has come now, because whether you go the worst time to go to that area is during the rainy season.
Yeah, you
Because you see
see,
smelly drainages here and there.
Lagos is probably below sea level now. So if you're below sea level, you need to take care of, ensure flowing drainages. And it's everywhere. It's everywhere you go in Nigeria. Roads are constructed without drain. And sometimes there's drain on one side. And we are funny people.
All right. It's 939 or 939 Solutions FM. Okay, moving away. Inflation. Manufacturers record 90.6% rise in cost. And the last story on the front page of the Vanguard
How do you
newspaper,
deal with that if you have 90-something percent?
90.6% rise in cost. We'll talk about that in the course of the program. Delta Air's ill treatment of Nigerians unacceptable. NCAA. Moving away from the Vanguard newspaper, let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune. The biggest story on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune says 2027 hurdles mount as coalition leaders move to unveil mega party. And riders' failure to agree on rallying point, a big mistake. Source: Mark Saraki adopts Sidon look approach. Interesting. Why we won't be part of coalition to challenge Tinubu, the patriot. And another one, TNN writes, INEC 6 registration as political party announces national conference. The story is found on pages 3, 22, and 23 of the Nigerian Tribune. Away from that, FAAN shuts Ibadan Airport for upgrade. KGB allegation, I will honor police invitation, Senator Karimi. And Serap is in news this morning. Serap sues Tinubu over unlawful suspension of Fubara, Rivers lawmakers. Job loss looms as Apapa port barge operations decline. NDLEA intercepts Indian lady with 72 parcels of heroin in chocolate wraps. Interesting. Okay, away from that too, OBJ laments failure of Onyon Dam to generate power 48 years after. Still looking at the stories on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, Onayeka to political leaders. Check your abuse of power. Alleges they obtain court judgments to justify wrongdoings. Says citizens must not be silenced amid hardship. That is Onayeka. That's a strong word.
The story you took before that, when President Basu just said,
Onyon Dam, yeah.
So was
not
it
being able to generate power 48 years after.
Was it not the administration of President Obasanjo, as General Obasanjo, that turned all water resources nationwide into a federal asset?
We'll come to that in the course of the program. I mean, when I saw the story, I was amazed too that this is coming from
Okere Dam is there to wasting away. In fact, the Shagari administration delivered equipment that did not fit the location. They are still there, those equipments in 1981 or 2.
Okay, moving to the Punch newspaper now. Naira for crude. Marketers fear price hike as FG suspends sale of Dangote. And Ryder.
That's interesting. I investigated it.
Ipman slams depot owners for stockpiling products. FG Dangote resume talks today.
When we get there.
When we get there, definitely. When we get there. Now, looking at the Nation newspaper, Rivers emergency declaration, Okpeholo faults Jonathan. And riders decision proactive, necessary, says Governor Minister Fubarat Church Service. Quick look at the Nation newspaper's front page. Adeleke threatens to depose Obas of warring Ilobu, Ifon communities. Ifon communities, yeah. Now, sale of crude in Naira extension likely as committee met. IG warns policemen against unlawful detention. Natasha's conduct vindicates Yahaya Bello, says Kogi senator. And the very last newspaper I have before me this morning, it's the Guardian newspaper. USAID withdrawal, drug shortages, uncertainty squeeze HIV/AIDS TB clinics nationwide. Bakari Ezekwesili provides solutions to Nigeria's leadership crisis. Anxiety in Kano as Bayero Sanusi plans separate Doba celebrations. Interesting. How can two emirs lay claim to one throne in Kano State? Interesting. Concerns over constitutionality of suspension of tenured office holders in Rivers. And let me see, can I take one more story? Okay, one more story now, or two more stories. Presidency says suspension of Fubara, others not power grab as governor appears in public. And the last one, Obasanjo decries Onyon Dam neglect, incessant borehole drillings. Page 7 of the Guardian newspaper has that story. It's 16 minutes to 10 on Solutions 93.9 FM from the dailies, and it's about time for us to delve into the stories one after the other. Comrade Adija Chope, good morning to you once again.
Yeah,
the last week declaration of state of emergency has generated lots of controversies, lots of speculation, lots of reactions from Nigerians home and abroad. And one of such people that reacted to that declaration of state of emergency was a former president of Nigeria, that is talking about Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. He was at an event a few days ago and he made a statement concerning the constitutionality of the state of emergency declared in Rivers State. Let's take a listen at Goodluck Ebele Jonathan.
As a former president and also from the Niger Delta, when the issue of suspending the governor came up, I think people called on me, oh, President Jonathan, oh, President Obasanjo, you should say something. People expected us to say something about what is happening. And of course, people don't even know that traditionally all over the world, former presidents hardly make statements about what the current presidents are doing because of the tension it could create in the country. In most cases, look at America, look at everywhere. So hardly for former presidents to make sometimes you see. And of course, what is happening in Nigeria today regarding the situation in Rivers State is like an Indian proverb that said that if somebody is sleeping, really sleeping, you can easily wake up that person. But if the person is pretending to sleep, you find it difficult to wake up that person. The key actors in Nigeria, from executive to the legislature, luckily Senator Binta and others are here, and the judiciary, they know the correct thing to do. But they are refusing to do it. They are pretending to sleep. And waking such a person is extremely difficult because the person knows the right thing. A clear abuse of offices, clear abuse of power, clear abuse of privileges, cutting across from the three arms of government, from the executive to the parliament to the judiciary. And I always plead with our people that whatever we do affects everybody. And sometimes we do things and we think that it doesn't affect us. I've been a president before, and even after leaving office as a former president, people get to me. Why is that our passport is not valued that much? Why is that Nigerians are not given the kind of treatment we're supposed to receive at the international airports? Sometimes we think it's because of Yahoo boys or 419ers. No, not only them. Yes, they are part of the problem. But whatever happens in a country, decisions that are taken by the executive arm of government, decisions that are taken by the parliament, judicial decisions affect everybody. For example, no businessman can bring his money to invest in a country where the judiciary is compromised, where a government functionary can dictate to judges what judgment they will give. No man brings his money to invest in that economy because we are taking a big risk. So whatever we do affects everybody. And if we must build a nation for our children and our grandchildren, no matter how painful it is, we must strive to do what is right. It may cost us, but we must endeavor and pay the price to insist on doing what is right.
Former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan there, giving that address, talking about the Rivers State state of emergency being declared. And if we listen to that thing properly, we will know that what he said was actually very deep. He spoke in parables. I like the analogy he used, saying that when you are asleep, truly asleep, it's easier for you to wake to wake such person up. But when someone is pretending to sleep, to be asleep, it is very difficult to wake such person up. Saying that people that know the rules, the real things, are pretending to be asleep. What do you make out of that?
Jonathan rose through the ranks, deputy governor, governor, vice president, and in circumstances that were contrived by history, he became president. And the first elected person from the executive branch at the presidency level lost election and went away. While people were busy trying to, play pranks, the man left them in the living room and went into his study and made a call to
the supposed winner.
The winner of that election before they cost him his everything. And the man said Nigeria, his own ascendancy to the office is not worth the drop of
the blood of any Nigerian.
You see, One American president said that politicians think of the next election and the leaders think of the next generation. We should ask ourselves, those who purport to lead us, what are they thinking of? It is clear that all of this is not about the people of Rivers and it is not about the people of Nigeria. If the protagonists take the interest of the people, of the state, or of this union, knowing full well the critical import of the Niger Delta and rivers in Nigeria's economic landscape, they wouldn't be doing that. I don't think so. In whose interest? That's a proper question to ask. All the protagonists. And everybody's pretending, just like the former president said, everybody's pretending to be asleep. You know, and I'm looking beyond this, all of this. And the conclusions I came to, it's even more serious than what is happening currently. Now, 6 months suspension, initial. It will be 2 years in office in this May, right?
Definitely, yeah.
So it will take 3 extensions. 3 extensions. There is one now. And then it will take 3 extensions to cover the tenure of Fubara. 3 extensions. Now, if you are not going to do 3 extensions, you say, okay, the situation has stabilized, suspension is lifted, let's say 1 year. So when that suspension is lifted, what is the situation that we will revert to? What do you call them? The assembly, still in the same location.
Are they going to be in tune
The
with
governor,
now?
still in the same location. So post suspension, what situation are we going to revert to? Is it not the same situation?
Jonathan, in this statement, made a statement about abuse of power. Is there a play of abuse of power in what is happening in River State?
Have you read Adoke's book? It's for his own Attorney General about the issue of emergency. When the issue of Boko Haram in 2013 escalated so much, and he called his Attorney General, Mohammed Adoke.
I read that part in Adoke's book.
And Adoke said, you have no such powers. You cannot declare, you cannot suspend elected officials.
Yes.
And he reminded him that Aki Olujimi, when Obasanjo was president and suspended the governors, the Emergency Act of 1961 that Olujimi was referencing is not part of our laws anymore. So it was clear, what Obasanjo did was clearly an abuse of power. And I don't even know, removing anybody elected of, even a local government chairman, the Supreme Court and the has said it. You cannot remove local government. If you cannot remove local government,
how much more
executive governor and suspending the parliament? You understand?
The entire parliament.
The entire parliament. And I saw Ononuga trying to rationalize. You know, it's very easy.
Well, Ononuga, he made some points which I feel we can.
If the president had waited, the situation would have
degenerated, something like that.
That's rationalization. That's look. Does that justify what lawyers are calling unconstitutional methods of? You say yes, you have powers to take extraordinary measures, but Section 305 opens with the fact that provided any other, notwithstanding this provision, that means you must comply with other provisions. This provision does not take precedent over other provisions.
You know, you mentioned Bayo Ononuga. I'm trying to look at to read his write-up. He titled it "Imagine Rivers State Without a State of Emergency." Bayo Ononuga is one of the presidential spokespersons.
He's the principal one.
He's the principal one. Okay, speaking on behalf of the president now. He titled this write-up, "Imagine Rivers State Without a State of Emergency." Let me try to read a part of it. Imagine the Rivers State where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu hesitated to declare a state of emergency. The political standoff between the State Assembly and Governor Siminalayi Fubara could have continued and degenerated into violence. Impeachment threats might have spurred attacks on lawmakers by the governor's supporters, while militants in the creeks primed to sabotage critical oil infrastructure could have plunged Nigeria's oil production back to pre-2023 lows. Sensational reporting of the crisis by journalists and opportunistic litigation would have inflamed tensions further, paralyzing governance and risking lives. Schools and hospitals would shutter. Investors would flee. We can only imagine the human and economic toll. Today, thanks to President's intervention, Rivers State can breathe again. Political tensions have eased. Banal headlines have quietened, and stakeholders, encouraged by the newly appointed administrator, are charting a path to lasting peace. A write-up by Bayo Onanuga, presidential spokesman. Imagine Rivers State without a state of emergency. Now, what do you make out of that write-up?
Damola,
In defense of the actions of Mr. President.
That's his job. That's why he was hired. That's his job.
So he was only doing his job. Whether the principle was right or wrong, you are just to
Let me tell you something. I've been privileged.
dress up his image in the public.
I've been privileged to be in close proximity to a few men of power. And look, and they are, you know, the court, the people, you know, the people in the court, they just do yes sir, yes sir. They just do yes sir, yes sir. And everybody is defending its location. They are captives. I can tell you that. The scripture says you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Those who are around any, maybe a governor or a president, it's even worse at the presidency level. They know the truth, but they don't allow the truth to set them free. In fact, that truth puts them in chains.
Now, that reminds me of something. When you say people around the president or the governors know the truth, but they cannot see the truth, is that what you're saying in essence?
Exactly.
I remember watching the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi.
He was a pitiable sight.
See, a senior advocate of Nigeria, who is also the Attorney General of the Federation. I mean, when he was speaking, he held a press conference speaking and trying to defend the president's decision to put up a state of emergency in Rivers State. And like you rightly said to it, was torturing.
Look, the issue here is
Are we
not...
going to say that he doesn't know the right thing? That the president was probably wrong for doing that?
What people are saying is that, yes, Rivers was going to descend into anarchy. It was going to descend into chaos. Oh, yes, that's a problem. He has powers to declare an emergency. But people are saying, those who we think should know, according to the Constitution,
now,
why can you do that? It is about the rule of law.
Now, Lateef Fagbemi,
we should not forget
is
that.
a senior advocate
This is
of
not
Nigeria.
politics.
He's a senior advocate of Nigeria, Lateef Fagbemi. Now, Femi Falana is a senior advocate of Nigeria who has come against that. Let's take a listen at the NBA president's statement too. The president of the Nigerian Bar Association, that is Alpha Mosigwe, his own view on that declaration of state of emergency and the suspension of the governor.
Was he speaking for
and the
himself or
lawmakers.
speaking for the NBA?
Speaking on behalf of the NBA. He said this is the stand of the NBA.
All right.
And he's also a senior advocate of Nigeria too. Let's take a listen.
I'll take them in segments. For us, first of all, the grounds for the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State were not in existence as at the time the president made the declaration. It is our view that the facts as presented did not justify a declaration of state of emergency. They did not meet the threshold or the facts and circumstances that are enumerated under Section 3(5) subsection 2. Now, the next segment is whether, assuming that as lawyers, which lawyers say, without conceding that the president was right in declaring a state of emergency, was he right in suspending the governor and his deputy as well as the House of Assembly? We also went on to say, and still insist, that that declaration too was unconstitutional, because Section 11(4) of the Constitution makes it clear that declaration of a state of emergency does not extend to power of the National Assembly to remove a governor. Now, if you know that under Section 305 subsection 5, the declaration by the president does not really become law until it is ratified by a resolution of the National Assembly. So you understand in what context Section 11(4) of the Constitution says that provided that the National Assembly does not have the power to remove the governor and his deputy. Now, The substance of this is, what is a state of emergency? State of emergency is merely a declaration that allows the government to take extra measures to deal with the situation, either war, breakdown, law of order, or any of the things enumerated in Section 3052. So it could be abridgment of the fundamental rights of the people. It could lead to maybe government taking possession of people's homes or doing things that would ordinarily have been unconstitutional, but for the existence of a state of emergency. It does not extend to the dismantling of democratic structures in a state where a state of emergency has been declared. And it was on that basis that we also posited that if the act of the declaration itself was unconstitutional, that the ratification of the same by both chambers of the National Assembly cannot cure the defect. And if you go into it further, the Constitution has stated that the National Assembly, both chambers of the National Assembly shall by 2/3 majority ratify it. It means that for you to ensure that the constitutional provision has been adhered to, you must indicate the number of persons who attended the sittings and the number of persons who voted for, against, or who abstained from voting. So you can't cure that by a voice vote. So a voice vote falls short of the constitutional requirement, because by a voice vote, you're unable to know whether you have met the constitutional threshold for ratification.
Now, that's the stand of the Nigerian Bar Association there, and as stated by the president of NBA, Alpha Mosigwe, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Now, what do you make of what he said there?
Let's take the National Assembly part of it quickly. Now, it is prescribed 2/3 majority.
Yes.
You don't do 2/3 majority by voice vote. They call it a division. You call for a division.
He also spoke about the attendance, the number of people in attendance.
Yes, you call for a division. Now, 109 members in the Senate, they did not even form allegedly.
Because allegedly the day the House passed this,
342, no, 324.
I'm talking about the Senate now.
The Senate now, okay.
From reliable sources, we gathered that only 64 senators were on seat.
And I think
out of 109 senators that were meant to be.
They did not even form a quorum of the day. 2/3.
109 senators were supposed to be in the House.
Yeah.
Only 64 attended, sat. That means some senators deliberately decided to stay away.
If they were going to call for a division, they were going to identify who voted where.
Does that 64 amount to this required number?
What is the quorum? If the constitutional requirement is you must have 2/3 majority of the members, so that means you need to have 2/3 of the members of the Senate before you can even sit. Does 64 amount to 2/3? Now, in the Green Chamber, they had 324 members seated. 360 is a composition of the House. So, what is the 2/3 of 360? That is 240. So, if there were 324 there, from the conversation that took place there, do you think they had a quorum? Do you think they were going to get 320 out of the 324 that sat there? They knew what was going to happen, that there was no way they were going to get it. And then you see the executive, look, it is prescribed. And the prescription for the removal of a governor is not subject to any other section of the. These things are not particularly so legalese that we cannot understand these things. But
so
you see,
judging by all these reactions because of our time now, can we say that the declaration of state of emergency and the suspension of the governor and all members of the House in that state is illegal?
It's an overreach. And the problem, you know the funny thing, the president is a smooth operator. He has taken even Wike out. He has taken direct control of Rivers now. Somebody was saying, did I see, Akpabio paid Wike a visit. They denied the...
You said he has taken Wike out. Wike is still...
Who says?
I think you said he has taken
Wike is out of the picture now, just like Fubara. What leverage?
Somebody is at the losing end.
So
Fubara is the one at the losing end.
What leverage?
Wike has no stake, official stake.
But we know Wike was the puppeteer. Who is the puppeteer of the 27? Causing the trouble. So what is the leverage left for Wike now? The administrator is the direct appointee of the president, and he will be reporting to the president. So what's Wike's role there now? The man has been left stranded. Somebody was calling my attention that, did I see the look on Wike's face when Akpabio paid him a visit? That, he didn't bargain for an emergency. They were bargaining on impeachment, that they were going to impeach by whatever means. And they were getting stuck even with the impeachment process. That was why they went for the chief judge. And of course, if you go for the chief judge, even an illegal removal of the chief judge, you needed the cooperation of the governor. So how was the House going to do anything about the chief judge? There was no way they're going to do it, or they will just go to court and say, recuse yourself from the process. You are tainted.
But now, has the state of emergency changed anything? Has it changed the status quo?
Well,
It's just like a face dressing.
The president has taken direct control of Rivers
Until when?
until he deems fit,
And when will that be?
at the pleasure of the president. Because I can say at the pleasure of the president, because the National Assembly, both chambers, are as good as an appendage.
Because I feel that before the president can lift the state of emergency, there must be a kind of a cordial relationship
Between.
between the governor, Fubara, and the House.
So the bid goes on. Let's see.
All right, it's 6 minutes past 10 on Solutions 93.9 FM. It's still from the dailies talking about trending stories on the front pages of newspapers. Let's move away from Rivers State now, and let's take a look at another issue that has to do with all Nigerians now. Naira for crude. Marketers fear price hike as FG suspends sale to Dangote. Now, what brought about this?
I spoke when Dangote started the reduction in, marginal reductions that has landed us around 870 something now from 1,200. I spoke to somebody in NNPC. He said that, NNPC. He said NNPC was taken unawares and was shocked at Dangote's price reduction and that they never forgave him. And this is their way of getting back. Have you noticed that NNPC petrol stations do not sell petrol? I've not been selling petrol. Have you noticed that?
I know. Well, I got one. I got some quantity last night.
Not regularly. Just check out.
Okay. Well, last night I got.
Not regularly. Just watch NNPC stations around you.
Okay.
They don't sell petrol regularly anymore.
And what brought about that?
Well, big questions about the status of Parakota. Don't worry that they are, bandied about as active and all of that. I will soon bring somebody from he will pay the visit. A former NPC senior management staff that just came back from Parakot. He told me he was going to Parakot. He was invited to Parakot by the MD, so he will give us an on-the-spot assessment. Now, they say that's their own way of getting back at him. And, thankfully, the price of crude oil is going down in the international market. But I think Dangote has a leverage. He has suspended sale of products to Nigerian marketers.
Yes.
And he says he want to be selling in US dollar now. So that's the way the man is going to force the hand of government too.
But the question is, why would the federal government suspend sale to Dangote?
It is an NPC that it is not. Look, it is not it is not federal government. It is an NPC. NPC is a business entity
Controlled by
owned by Nigerians.
you and I.
Yes.
I own NNPC.
Yes. Now, Ministry of Finance owns 50%, and then which other ministry? Another Ministry of
So
Finance.
what is your stake in
NNPC Limited.
Who controls? Who appoints? Who appoints?
You
Who
are
fires?
a shareholder. You don't know. You are in Nigeria. You are a shareholder in NNPC.
Well, you're just making me to realize that, but
They are holding it in trust for us. You don't think so? You don't believe you're a stakeholder. Now, what do they call them? So they're getting back at you. NNPC is the man told me that NNPC was felt blindsided. You understand? By the actions of Dangote. And the only way they can get back at him now is, the threat alone. But can the federal government now allow an NPC to do this? Then the man told me that the marketers in this country are saboteurs. I have him on audio, but I will bring him here. That they are, what do you call it, saboteurs. That they have subversive elements, that there are also subversive elements in the NNPC itself. But can the federal government sit and allow NNPC, you understand, to give it a bad name? You see, there are fifth columnists everywhere that even the little that this government might seem to be doing right, you understand, in the terrible circumstances, as that lady said, people are even, fifth columnists are even, ready to turn back the hand of the clock, as they say. So, it is the federal government officials that should have their eyes wide open and do not allow. This thing caused a lot of trouble when Dangote came online. Started production. At a point in time, the what do you call them? The regulators say, he does not have license. He has only provisional license and all of that. And people are asking. And the only problem was that, do you know the figures of imports of products that has been going on? Should you have seen the problem? We are importing almost the same numbers. In fact, if not higher.
Now with the,
where is the product going?
Now you say it's not FG now, it's the NNPC that has decided not to sell.
It
to
is
Dangote.
NNPC.
Now, what will be the ripple effect it will have of we Nigerians?
Well, in view of that, Dangote says we are not selling to marketers again in naira. You understand? And if they say they are not selling to marketers in naira, they will be selling in US dollars, and the US dollars will be dictated by the exchange rate of the naira to the dollar and the price of crude in the spot market. So the price will go up.
The pump price of petrol.
So let's see if the government can afford that.
Okay, it's still from the Daily Zone Solutions 93.9 FM. Let's go on this commercial break. We'll be right back.
True strength. What defines it? The brilliance of a player, or when a team comes together to win. A solo beat, or the rhythm of many. The flair of one dancer, or the art of a troupe. One distinct voice, or the beauty of the symphony. At FCMB Group, we build ecosystems, empower communities, and create the future. Because we believe it's not just one, but the power of the group that delivers the future we all desire. FCMB, the power of the group.
Glad to have you back from that short commercial break from the Dailies and Solutions 93.9 FM. 2-3 more stories to look into before we call it a day. And let's go to another story that has to do with the manufacturers, and it's found on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. It says inflation, manufacturers record 90.6% rise in cost. We've been talking about this inflation, and I think a few days ago, the federal government, or maybe the CBN governor, came out and said that they've been able to tame inflation. That's come down a bit. But the manufacturers are saying that it is trying to strangulate their business, as it has their cost of production has risen, which in turn will lead to the rise in the cost of whatever things they are producing. And Nigerians can't even afford these things they are producing any longer.
Well, what things are we talking about here? We're talking of consumer items, not food here.
Okay.
Because inflation, you have to separate these things.
Okay.
Now, they're not food. They are consumer items outside food. Food items, the cost, I am informed, at least my wife goes to the market, that some of these things are coming down. She bought, I remember she went to a store and bought gizzard, and they assured her that the following week the price was going to come down by a third. And she returned there a week after, and the price had dropped from 6,000 per kilogram or something to 4,000. And I'm talking about barely a week ago. She told me the price of beans had come down drastically, and a few other items. But there are complaints about some other items on the CPI, Consumer Price Index, manufacturing items. And the terrible thing, look, the cost of financing their activities is still very high. The cost of energy, the cost of raw materials that are imported in US dollars. This is the inputs that determine these things. And the very hostile business, that amounts to a very hostile business environment. And then the purchasing power of the average Nigerian that patronize these items. That is the main challenge. Business is about turnover. If I stock 1,000 items in my shop and I sell it in a day with a margin of maybe 10 naira profit, or the other person that stocks the same 1,000 items and wants a profit of 50 naira, me, I will do my 10 naira margin, 1,000 pieces a day. He will sit down there doing 150 naira margin in 1 week. Me, that I'm doing 1,000 pieces in a day with 10 naira margin, wouldn't have made more than while he is waiting. So turnover is important to businesses rather than huge margin on small numbers.
But the issue now is the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria have been complaining that the cost of production, this is not the first time they are saying
The
saying
inputs
this.
remain. Look, what is the interest rate in banks?
That's what I'm going to. What has the federal government been able to do under this administration, at least to cushion the effect of this on the manufacturers?
You know how many times last year we spoke about what do you call it? Monetary policy rates.
These manufacturers now, they want to approach banks for loans. The interest rate is so high.
And they will pass it.
There was even a time they said they are beginning to look for other options rather than going to the banks.
And they will pass it because it's a part of their cost of production. Who do they pass it to? The consumers. It is only in this year that we have not had the issue of, monetary price, MPR increase. Throughout last year, every meeting of MPR like this, they will increase. And of course, you may say stability now, but where has the stability landed them? Stability. What rates are they borrowing money for? At what rate? And then, you borrow money at a high interest rate. You now go and purchase your other inputs, including raw materials, at exchange rates that are not friendly. And the hurdles at the ports, Nigerian ports, the payment, if you check the rates now, everything has gone up. The easiest one you can know from is the cost of importing cars now and clearing it. And it has affected everything. In fact, I think they're doing, there was a time at the port, they were changing their own, rates. At the rate at which the naira was going to the dollar, until I think the federal government said no, they should stop doing that. Maybe they should do it weekly or monthly or something like that. So all of that, and then recently, what do they call this thing? Increase in minimum wage. Industry will not shout. In fact, they had implemented it before government. Because if their workers, the basic workers are unable to come to work, their business will not go on. So put all of this together. There are thousands, some of them have thousands and thousands of workers that work 3 shifts a day. And they are not government that can say, we are not paying you for one month, we are not paying you for 2 weeks. If the workers refuse to work, you know the consequences. So they cannot afford all the nonsense that government. Everything must be primed and work according to plan and schedule. So they will pass it to all of us. And where is the purchasing power?
And one of the problems that these manufacturers are encountering on a daily basis is power, which is the number one priority.
Now, they say, I remember, what did they call them? The disco in Ibadan. When they were arguing with UCH. They said it costs UCH 400 naira to produce a kilowatt of power. And Disco wants to take 209 naira. So which one is more sensible for them to do? Now imagine, it costs double. They can't. Those companies cannot afford. In this Ibadan, I don't want to mention names of companies. No serious company is running on Disco. No serious big-time manufacturer. In fact, there was a company that they're delivering what they call it CSR. They are the ones that are doing their, what do they call this thing? They provide gas. I forgot the name they call it now. They provide them with power. So that company does CSR in Ibadan. Not even the company that are helping, but the company that does the power. So not even a serious small-scale businessman.
Now, talking about the federal government not being able to tackle this power problem in a very good way.
Why are they unable to tackle it?
Now, this brings me to this point raised by former President Olusegun Obasanjo as regards Onyo Dam. He said, Obasanjo laments failure of Onyo Dam to generate power 48 years after. And 48 years after, Onyo Dam was probably created in 1977 during the time or the tenure of General Olusegun Obasanjo then. Now, the question would now be that if OBJ is lamenting, what did he do when he came back as a civilian president in 1999 and he spent 8 years again to revive or to raise Onyo Dam to the standard of producing? Because it's easy to sit down and trade and send blames to but government in power said they are not doing enough to make this work. What did you do when you were there?
One day I was interviewing one of...
Onyo Dam is in Abeokuta, to the best of my knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
One day, a few years ago, I was interviewing one of Baba's close friends. And I pointed out so many things that they did way back then, especially nationalizing. Is it nationalizing? No, it is foreign things that you can nationalize. Bring everything under control of future government, even including primary education. Took over universities, took over stadia, took over... In fact, the worst one they did was taking over water resources. That's why we have an unreasonable ministry of water resources in Nigeria. How can you be controlling? You say I own the land, but the federal government owns what is under the land. Do I then own the land? Land that belongs to me. You say I own the land, but what is under the land belongs to government. Now, Okere is there. Our governor has made efforts.
No, they have actually to react to what you just said. Now, I think that's always been stated that the land belongs to the government. That no matter how much you claim the land, the government still has the right.
Yes, if there's an overriding public interest.
Definitely.
Now, our governor had made efforts, and let me tell you, that dam when they took it over during Obasanjo, okay, Gorge, during the Shagari era, in an attempt to make them work, they brought equipment, to that Gorge dam that did not fit it. If you go there, except they removed it in the past 1 year, since 1980, to turn it, irrigation and then to generate power. So why will you take over? They took over everything. It was under General Obasanjo. So I now asked that his friend, say, all these things they did. He said, it was youthful exuberance. Me, I didn't push the conversation anymore. Because I had made my point. So, when people are talking about restructuring, I don't like that phrase. I just don't like it because it has been made, look like a weapon now. We have to reconfigure this union. And when they're saying we have to reconfigure the union, I am not talking about political reconfiguration, administrative, legal. Look at our laws. You take one, what do they call that, in divorce matter. You take it from magistrate court in what do they call that, Makbo, until Supreme Court. What for? Issue of land, family land between you and I. We take it to the Supreme Court. What does the Supreme Court know about the land matter in Ibadan? Who are the people precise? You understand?
Chieftaincy matters.
Chieftaincy matters, like the one they're doing in Kano.
We are going to Kano now.
So all these things, we should reconfigure Nigeria. But some people think reconfiguration of Nigeria will take power away from them. They will lose power. And my friend calls them influence peddlers. So if your friend is in power I'm empowered by proxy.
Definitely.
So that is the way prebendalism. People are just peddling influence. People are not. A businessman that I thought was a serious businessman, billion naira over, that I happen to know. I said, I don't have Nigerian businessmen know that's a very tough hostile environment. He said, what business are people doing? He said, everybody is trying to ambush the next person. I said, you businessman. He said, which business? Everybody is trying to ambush the next person. So but you know the funny thing? That same man, Baba, that I asked about Obasanjo, he told me one thing. He called it sheer force of inertia will compel Nigeria. Is that we take charge ourselves and steer Nigeria in the direction it ought to go, or Nigeria will be propelled in whatever direction it likes.
Okay, as we wrap up today on the program, let's talk about the emirship tussle in Kano State. As we speak today, two individuals are claiming one throne in Kano State. We have Bayero.
One throne, two kings.
One throne, two kings. Yoruba will say that. But two of them are already, and we can't rule out the effect or the influence of different court judgments, which I would like to say they are bringing more confusion to this too.
Adebayero went to court to
wrap up,
to enforce what they call fundamental rights, and of course that Federal High Court, gave some orders and all of that, and the matter went to the appeal court, and the appeal court said that the Federal High Court had no jurisdiction. And I think there were other issues. And then the appeal court came back now. Some people now say, okay, you should not have referred the matter to a Kano State High Court. You should simply have struck it off your books. That is where the problem is now.
That's confusion.
That's confusion now.
From the court now.
Yes. He said, no, you should not have referred it. Since you said that the matter is off the purview of the Federal High Court. Since the matter is off the purview of the Federal High Court, and then the Federal Court had no jurisdiction, you should simply have struck it off. So when you strike it off, maybe they can go elsewhere. And of course, they can no longer approach a Federal High Court. So the appeal court did not strike it off, and the appeal court was trying to play middle of the road thing. You say the Federal High Court had no jurisdiction. If they didn't have jurisdiction, strike it off. So they are now landed. They now say the decision should not be implemented. And everybody is doing the interpretation according to their own interest.
So what will bring an end to this leadership tussle, the emirship tussle in Kano?
They will go to Supreme Court.
They will go to the Supreme Court.
And don't be, yes, they will go. But you and I know. Okay, is there an emir of Abuja? Is there an emir of Asoro? Is there an emir of, as the federal government appointed a king?
Is it not embarrassing when it has to do with the stools of kings going to be decided by courts?
What is it? What's the embarrassment again in Nigeria? Look, the judiciary has joined the fray. The parliament is in bed with they are all in bed together against the people. The parliament was validating, even if it was not an illegality. You understand? Even if the action of the president was not an illegality, the National Assembly went about it illegally.
Because even down here in the south, in the west, we've heard cases of a court removing, dethroning a sitting king.
Yeah, there are procedures. If you don't follow procedure, prescribed procedures. But they say the governors are the latest oracles in town.
Okay.
They are the oracles that choose the king now.
They are the oracles.
They are the oracles now. They stay in the office, the king come to the office, the governor's office to come and receive staff of office.
Okay, let's go with this commercial break. We'll be right back as we wrap up.
Super unstoppable you, fueling your vitality the whole day through. Embrace each challenge with renewed might. With Super Ultra Performance.
With 20 essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, one Supermalt multivitamin after breakfast every day keeps you going.
All right, Comrade DJ Chokwe, it's been a very wonderful time with you on the program this morning. Thank you very much for being a part of the program.
And as we wrap up the month, it's not over. The first quarter is not over, so still go for it.
Okay.
It is not over until it is over.
And on a lighter note, thank you for letting me know that I also own the NNPCL because I never knew.
We are stakeholders, except you do
I
not
was a
have
stakeholder.
a sense of stakeholding in this union.
So
and I'm sure you do.
Every Nigerian now, we own NNPC.
We are stakeholders in Nigeria and everything in Nigeria.
I will go home without joy in my heart. Okay, that's the wrap for today. I'll be back again tomorrow morning for a fresh edition from the Daily Zone Solutions 93.9 FM. My name is Adi Damola. Lafema, like I always say, let's go out there and make it a money-making Monday. Good morning.